This is Roger Simon with PJTV. Today we have special guest David Siegel, Consul General of Israel in Los Angeles, where he serves as the senior representative of the State of Israel to the southwestern United States. In the past, Mr. Siegel has served as Chief of Staff to Israel's Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs. Mr. Siegel, thank you for joining us.
It's great to be here, Roger.
Well, all right, let's begin with events at the UN on Thursday. Rush Limbaugh, driving over here on the radio, said that Bibi Netanyahu gave the first PowerPoint he'd ever heard in front of the UN General Assembly. What was that about?
Well, I thought he drove a powerful point at the UN today. I think the whole idea was to convey in very clear terms how late in the hour we are when it comes to trying to stop Iran before it's too late. And in drawing that red line the way he did for the world to see, he made it very clear what Israel's concerns are and what the world's concern should be when it comes to dealing with Iran before it's too late.
I think you gave a little bit of a lecture in nuclear weapons engineering there. One of the interesting points he brought out that I didn't quite realize is the enrichment of uranium is the big deal, and the making of the fuse is the small deal, which can be done in a small room much like this. What does that mean, really?
Well, it means that we have to stop the enrichment while we can before it's too late, because the fuse, as the Prime Minister Netanyahu said this Thursday, is easy to assemble and very difficult to detect.
In a country that's, I guess our map back there shows how big it is.
Half the size of Europe.
Half the size of Europe. That stunned me because I didn't realize that Iran was, I knew it was big, I didn't realize it was that big. Now, obviously Netanyahu wasn't the only speaker at the UN on Thursday. Abbas of the Palestinian Authority, of course, also spoke and accused Israel of being not this time. It wasn't an apartheid state. That was last week. This was ethnic cleansing. What did Netanyahu have to say about that?
Well, this is very unfortunate. I mean, Netanyahu basically said that this is a libelous speech that the Palestinian Prime Minister gave, or President gave. And the problem that we have with the Palestinian leadership is that rather than work with us in negotiating a state, they'd prefer to have statements at the United Nations. That's no way to build confidence between the two parties, and we're unfortunately been waiting for many, many years now for the Palestinian leadership to come to the table and discuss the very difficult issues that we need to resolve through mutual compromise. We're not seeing that happen, and this kind of speech only sets us back.
Well, of course, what they claim is that it's the Israeli settlements that are standing in the way of these discussions. On the other hand, I know that the man that you used to work for, Danny Ayalon, was speaking in New York, was it last week, I guess, or earlier, about a new way of looking at this issue. What was that?
Well, it actually is a very old issue, but we're trying to feature it now in a more prominent way because, when Israel was created 64 years ago, what happened in the Arab world is that the Jewish communities were attacked and thrown out, and they arrived in Israel as refugees. And we had a mutual refugee issue, the Palestinian refugee issue that everyone knows about, and the Jewish refugee issue, which was even larger numbers, wealthier communities that were not involved in a conflict, that were persecuted in the countries that they came from. And these refugees live in Israel today, the majority of them, and we're talking about almost 1 million people. And that their concern also should be discussed at the negotiating table, not just the Palestinian refugee concerns.
And also that involves, I read, land swaps, that they came from land that was 5 times the size of the State of Israel. So
and property. Property that's 5 times that, yes.
So it gives a whole new spin to this argument we've been hearing for decades now, actually. And now Netanyahu on Thursday seemed to be making an effort to be bipartisan after accusations of being friends with Mitt Romney, et cetera, et cetera. And there was a certain amount of praise for Obama in his speech, indicating, and here again I've heard some references to Danny Ayalon being involved in this, that there are back-channel conversations being held now between the U.S. and Iran about real red lines. Is this happening? What do you know about this? What can you say about this?
Well, I can't say everything, but I can say that last week, President Obama and Prime Minister Netanyahu had an hour-long phone conversation Tonight, our Prime Minister is meeting with Secretary of State Clinton, and tomorrow there's another phone conversation with the President of the United States. So there obviously is a ball in play, and our hope is that we will have quiet discussions with the administration behind closed doors so that Iran is not privy to all the information that we are discussing about where that red line should be and how to set it before, again, it's too late. I mean, people need to understand that what the Prime Minister showed today for the world to see, the bomb and the enrichment, basically means that Iran today has already enriched 200 kilo of enrichment that is already at the second stage that he discussed. They need 260 kilo, which is, they're already three-quarters of the way in the process, in order to reach enough uranium for a bomb. So that we're very, very close. We're 60 kilos away. They already have 200. So it's very, very late in the game, and these are the discussions that will take place behind closed doors. How do we stop Iran? Because the tools we've been using until now obviously have not been strong enough.
And now the conventional wisdom, of course, is that, well, let Iran have the bomb, and it's much like the Soviet Union. There'll be mutually assured destruction, etc., all the cliches of the Cold War, which proved to be relatively true. But I know Netanyahu, I'll read this off the prompter here. I'm honest about the prompter, unlike some people. He said today, to understand what the world would be like with a nuclear-armed Iran, just imagine the world with a nuclear-armed al-Qaeda, which I thought was a pretty pithy comment. I don't know any comment about that. But I do want to ask a question about it, and that is this. Again, the second part of the conventional wisdom, I think many of our PJ TV audience is pretty savvy on this stuff, has been reading, is that if Israel attacked Iran's nuclear installations, it would only set them back a year or two. And that, you know, like evil Energizer bunnies, they'd be back at it again. What would be smart military planning in this instance, other than taking that into account?
Well, first of all, engaging the United States in a very serious way about how to deal with this threat together, because the threat is not just to Israel, it's to the Middle East and to the world, as Prime Minister Netanyahu laid out very, very clearly in his speech. So it shouldn't only be about what Israel can do or not do unilaterally, because our goal is not to do things unilaterally. Our goal is to stop Iran peacefully. And we believe that you could stop Iran peacefully by setting a clear red line that actually lets you gain more time diplomatically and economically, by setting a clear red line that is not just Israel's red line, it's an international red line.
Mr. Siegel, there's one other thing we wanted to ask you. As you no doubt know, one of our most prominent Jewish-American lawyers, Harvard professors, etc., Alan Dershowitz has his own peace proposal that he is circulating. What is the position of the Israeli government on this?
Well, we need to discuss this with him quietly and see what the details are. But we do know that he had a meeting with President Abbas in New York, and that Abbas initialed op-ed that Alan Dershowitz wrote a few months ago. So that's fine, that's all well and good. But the history of this is that we've had 2 Israeli prime ministers and 3 American presidents that came to the Palestinian leadership, put everything on the table, offered far-reaching, programs and offers, including removing settlements and doing all this stuff. And the answer was always no. So it's fine to initial an op-ed. It's another thing to actually engage in serious negotiations with the Palestinian leadership.
Well, you got OJ off. If you can do that, maybe you can solve the Middle East.
There you have it.
Mr. Siegel, thank you very much. Thank you for joining PJ TV. I'm Roger Simon.